Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we have our very first Reign Over Your Life podcast guest. I can't wait for you guys to dive into our conversation. It's with the amazing and incredible Carrie Smith. Carrie has been such an important mentor in my life and really the first person I would say that encouraged me to begin my healing journey from within. She has been someone that has stood by my side, held my hand, and she's even physically held me while I have had just emotional releases and powerful experiences. And she's just been such a pillar of strength in my life. So, of course, I had to have her come and be the first podcast guest. She is the co founder of the Awakening Trainings. She is a breathwork specialist. She is the best-selling author to Solution to Your Baggage. She is a world-renowned breathwork specialist, a yoga charini, which I believe is the highest accreditation you can get in meditation. It's a big deal. She's also a life coach, and she is the one who set up my relationship with Miles. She's amazing. And I can't wait for you guys to dive into our discussion. We talk about breath work. We talk about how trauma is stored in our three lower chakras and ways that you can begin to breathe and release that stored emotion. We also dive into how to break patterns, how to break out of these cycles where we find ourselves in these tantrums or full of anxiety, and how we can come back to our breath and feel and be curious and release that and break that pattern and create a life full of meaning and presence and joy. But before Carrie and I dive into our conversation, I want to give my weekly recap. So last week we started doing these on the podcast episode because I want to start sharing with you guys as I'm documenting my own trauma recovery journey. I want to be letting you know what I'm doing in between these episodes, what modalities I'm taking on, what I'm experiencing, what's working, what's not working. And that's what we're going to do now in our Reign of Your Life weekly recap. So I shared last week that I started therapy. And one thing that we've been really working towards this week is creating boundaries in my life, creating boundaries with work and life balance. For those who know, we launched the RXL community and we have almost 300 members since we launched less than 2 weeks ago, which is a huge deal. And our whole team, I'm just so grateful. I'm so thankful for all you listeners who are in our community, who are actively doing our Fit for Fall challenge, and just all these amazing women who are just yearning for being in a space to be uplifted and just share and celebrate wins and be surrounded with truly just love and joy. Whenever I go into a launch, I tend to work pretty late nights and pour a lot of my heart and my soul into birthing out a project into the world. And the RXL community was just as important as all my other launches. So it was, a really exciting couple weeks. I found myself feeling a little burnt out. I'm also really dialing into my cycle syncing and really watching my hormones and where I'm at in my cycle, menstrual cycle, for those who want to know. And I found that I was also moving into my luteal phase, which is a huge crash of hormones as you go into your premenstrual cycle. So which I'm definitely going to bring on my friend Natalie, and we're going to have a whole podcast episode very, very soon. I think just in a couple weeks, where we really dive into how to work out, how to eat, how to even like schedule your work around your cycle. So, anyways, that's coming down the pipeline really, really soon. Anyways, one thing that I found out was I've been like in messages, sending video messages, responding to everyone, and really taking on a lot of the customer support because I just want to be really closely tied to this brand and this new RXL community. And I want it to represent me as we're still figuring it out. Like, what do we want the Instagram to look like? What are our brand colors? And we're kind of like building the plane while flying it. So I'm very hands-on and very involved, which is so exciting. And to see messages being like, oh my God, you sent me a video message really makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy and grateful to even support women in that way and start these conversations, which is really like my mission and is just to provide resources to women. So I found myself being a little burned out and just feeling very tired. And so when I met with my therapist, we were building out some boundaries of work life balance where this week, my goal is I'm just setting a timer. As soon as I put Andara down to bed, I'm going to be shutting off my phone and going in and working on implementing the self help modalities for my trauma recovery. And what I've done is created a little ritual where I'm going to shower, clean off all my energy for the day, change, go make myself an herbal tea, and then come back into my office and sit on my pink couch. And I'm going to be reading my trauma book or taking my trauma course. I'm going to do my tapping. I'm going to do my journaling. I'm going to use my oils and I'm going to light an incense at the beginning to kind of set the mood. And I'm planning on doing that from 7 to 8:15 p.m. 5 days a week. So that's the goal that I set. I set it last night. I will keep you guys posted. And I found myself having a little resistance just, ooh, am I really going to commit that? I have like people coming in town. I have some trips coming up. And the feedback that I got from my therapist and where we landed was that we need to set small, short term goals so that we don't have to fully commit our whole life, every routine, because that also creates a sense of safety when it's small and you're like, oh, okay, it's for the next 5 days. I can do that. And then in 5 days, we're going to reassess. Did it work? Did it not work? Do we want to switch? Do we want to pivot? So that is where we are. And I'm really excited. Tonight's actually going to be my very first night trying it. And I'm very much looking forward to it. And I found that having a ritual, having something that I was looking forward to, and actually knowing exactly what I would be doing made me feel excited for it. And I think that's the biggest thing is like we wake up and we think, oh, what should I do today? Should I go work out? What kind of workout? And in that indecision, we can burn so much energy and so much time. And that's where we really burn up our motivation to actually go out and make changes. So the importance is pre planning, putting your thoughts on paper, and like I did, I decided to this past week for the Fit for Fall challenge, I've committed to doing yoga 4 days a week at 6 a.m. So I wake up, I go. And I found myself this morning waking up feeling a little sore. I'm definitely sore. My booty is so sore from yoga. And I was like, should I just like cancel? But because I had booked a class, because I told a friend I was going, because I made the promise to myself, I realized I go, wait, I've done the hard work. I've planned it, I scheduled it, I paid for the class. All I have to do now is show the fuck up. Pretty easy, right? And that was a really big powerful shift and moment that I really want to like sink in and offer that as an opportunity here is that if we put something in our schedule, if we take the time to book a class, to schedule something, to sign up, it is important to show up for yourself because not only when you show up for yourself that you can receive the benefits of the intention that you set, but you're also proving to yourself that you hold your word, that you can follow through, that what you say matters. And that builds so much confidence. Now, I know that from myself personally, but I'm hearing it all inside our RXL community. Everyone's saying, oh my God, like all my momentum's back. I just know exactly what I'm doing because the workouts are pre planned, they're scheduled, they know the times they're doing. And as everyone's posting on the page and sharing their goals, I'm jumping in and offering where can we get a little more specific? Where can we get a little more excited about setting these goals? So you want to show up. Okay, so that's what I have for the weekly recap. And just a friendly reminder if you are not yet a part of our RXL community, we have extended our founding member rate to join for lifetime access, a one-time fee of only $44. You get access into our full-blown community. We do events, workshops, book clubs. We have chats that I'm a part of, posting exclusive stuff only in RXL. And then you get my master content library where I've taken all my workouts, all my meditation. Coming soon, EFT tappings. I've built out affirmation scripts. I put all my mindset tools, all my workouts, all in one easy to access place. So it takes out all that guesswork so that you can just build out your schedule, choose the time you're going to work out, choose the workouts, and all you have to do is show up. If that sounds like you are ready to reign over your life and join me and our 300 other women who are reigning over their life too, check the show notes because I will link it below there. And with that, let's dive into our very first podcast guest. Carrie, welcome to the Reign Over Your Life podcast. I'm so happy to have you on as our very first guest.
Oh, thank you for having me, Crystal. You're an inspiration. And I just love speaking to any of your clients and your viewers and the people who are watching you, because I know that they're taking their life seriously and they really want to up-level their life. So I'm honored to be here and to be chatting with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Now, for those who
Yeah.
don't know, Carrie and I go way back. We have like a long history together, a really special history. And I want to say, Carrie, you are one person I would say that stands out of all the people I've ever met who I feel is really dedicated to doing the work and to living a life of being just inquisitive and curious and really showing up like with that love and that light, and you really like lead by example. And I want to open up the podcast and just ask you, since we are the Reign Over Your Life podcast, what area of your life currently right now are you committed to reigning over?
It's a great question. And right off the top of my head, thinking about it, I'm going to have to just immediately just say it's mastering my mind. And how do you do that, right? That's like the big question. Because I
Mhm.
really believe mindset's everything. And when I first met you, way back when, is when I had some opportunities to really dive in as a parent, right?
Mhm.
And back then was my mindset. And that's really where I got a hold of the power of the mind, the power of intention, and got to witness the results when executed. Right. And that's why
Mhm.
really I brought you onto my team to be able to help my son. And so I would say mindset. And how do we do it? I'm going to just say, every day I work on my meditation practice. Is it a struggle? Absolutely. Right? It's supposed to
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
Nothing's easy, right? The thing, and that's, I think, where the problem is, Crystal. And I really want people to understand anything worth fighting for and anything that's going to be difficult is going to be worth your while. It's hard, right? Things are hard and people want to hit the easy button. And if it's easy, I don't know, might not be super long lasting. So
Yeah.
mindset, mastering your mind is really important.
That is so true. I have felt that even just launching this podcast, where so much we want to put these timelines on our life and these goals. And while I really love having like a strong date to work back from and having my weekly KPIs, there's also a point where you have to just kind of surrender and unattach from outcomes and know that challenges are going to come up, especially when they're big up levels in your life, especially when this is something that's like a soul mission and like you're meant to achieve this in your life. Like you're going to hit resistance because I feel like it's really your soul trying to grow and evolve. And that resistance, those are the things we try to push away. Those are the things that make us give up. But that's really where all of our strength and glory comes from, is really working through and overcoming those little bumps.
Absolutely. And right there, I think is a great little opportunity that I could maybe offer a simple exercise and a simple little boost for people. I
Yeah.
think that I 100% agree with Crystal and with you, Crystal, that setting your goals and having, I always say, like, shoot for the moon, you're going to land amongst the stars. And I say
Mhm.
shoot big. And you know how hard I push myself with
Mhm.
goals and dreams, and I go for it. But as you know, through when we're working together, it's important to have the goal. But most people don't know that they're at the top of the mountain because they don't know the feeling that it feels like at the top. Or they don't know let's say you're working on your weight loss and you want to be a certain size. But it's more important to go, when I am that desired
Mhm.
size or weight, what should I feel like? Because if you don't have your why to go to that feeling, well, then what's the point? And so I really believe in the feeling. So if I'm going to have a goal in my business, or I'm going to have a goal in a relationship, let's just talk about a relationship for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're in a relationship and your goal is you want to be heard, right? Because you have a point to be made and you want to be heard. Most people go into those things with a point and a goal. What's better is a feeling. If that goal is achieved, how will you feel? Will you feel peaceful? Will you feel inspired? Will you feel courageous? And so then when you go into the conversation, all of your language is going to get behind peace, and your
Mm-hmm.
execution will be better so that the goal is achieved.
I love you sharing that. I relate so much when I'll reflect back and I'm like, wow, there's actually so much to win. Why am I feeling so anxious? I should sit here and celebrate and really like stack my wins and be proud of it. Like I forget to even recognize when those happen. And one thing that you just spoke of that made me think of is somatic healing. And it's really like coming back into the body. And last week on the podcast, we talked about creating safety in the body as a
Mm-hmm.
way through healing. And with that, I want to segue into breath work and how breathing, how connecting in your body, how feeling in your body, how that can relate to healing. So, for those who aren't familiar with breath work and this is their first time hearing about it, can you just share a little bit with our listeners? What is it and how you have come to incorporate it as such an important part of your life and teachings?
Yeah, beautiful. So breath work is, well, I love to just say, if you don't breathe, you're not
Yeah,
alive,
you're not here.
right? You're not here. So breath work is so important. And most people don't realize how they're breathing. They don't understand the pattern of their breathing. And the way you breathe shows how you live your life. So if you work with a breathwork specialist, which I am, someone can lay down and I can tell you how you're walking through life purely by the way the breath flows through your respiratory system. So, for example, if you're having a short and shallow breath, that would tell me a few things. You're either going through a very difficult, hard time, and maybe it's a time, just a time and period, right? Maybe you're getting taken advantage of. Maybe you have lack of energy. Maybe you're feeling like you don't have enough courage and confidence to go through life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a short and shallow breath. Of course, it's layered on a multiple other things. But let's say you have a deep breath, like someone who is going on a run, right? A deep, full breath. Those people, if they're breathing in a deep, full way, I know they have confidence in life. I know they have the willpower to push through. But no one teaches in us as individuals, how do you get control of your breath and how do you breathe, right? So that's, to me, like really important. So if I'm going to go into a situation where I'm talking to people of authority, like a doctor, right, and I'm going to have to maybe challenge, or I'm going to have to challenge my husband, or I'm going to have to talk sternly to my kids, I know that the way I step in is, one, have the intention, and two, where is my breath? Am I like nervous and I'm having
Mm-hmm.
short, rapid breaths? Or am I like grounded and confident because my breath is there?
Do
So
you
your breath is everything.
would you say I have two questions here. The first one is when you say deep shallow breathing, do you mean more chest breathing versus belly breathing or can we have shallow belly breaths as well?
For sure, both. And what is a breath that, if anyone has this breath, I just would love to talk to it for a second. A lot of people, when you breathe in, does your stomach go in or out? And many people are unaware of it, so it takes a second. So while Kristen and I are talking, you can put your hands on your belly and your chest and see, when you breathe in, does your belly go out, in, or does it hold? And is your chest going up or out? It's really important to know. If you breathe in and your belly goes in, that's an indication that you have a belief that the world doesn't have your back. And it's another indication that you have to work really, really hard in order to receive, versus the universe has my back and everything's going to flow to me. So how do you do that? It's really It's not easy. I mean, right? Like things worth fighting for are not easy. And a strong mind is a strong body, and you have to master your breath. So when you inhale, you want to feel your belly expand like a balloon. And if you practice this on the daily, you will discover yourself having more confidence in life.
So would you say it's through your breath that you can establish confidence?
I would say it's definitely a piece of a massive puzzle. I
Wow.
know people who, I really also believe you have to have a strong body creates a strong mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in what I have discovered is I injured myself just recently and I wasn't able to work out. And I typically have a pretty strong build. And I noticed that my strength wasn't quite there, right? And I am a little bit older. And I was working on my meditation. I was working on my breath. My physicality wasn't as strong. And I noticed I went to some board meetings and I noticed I didn't have the confidence to like stand up. And I came home and I was thinking, why didn't I speak up? What's the deal? And I really went in and I was like, what is not working? I'm like, strength. Immediately the next day, I did some strength training
Mm-hmm.
and I felt myself just all coming back. So I think that there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but I don't want people to think that it's just like, oh, meditation, your life is easy. Get control of your breath and your life will be better. Change your breath, change your life. That's what they say. It's a combination. You better have a strong body to have a strong mind, have a good breath, and practice meditation.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little bit more into the combination of breath work and meditation.
Sure.
Um, Specifically with that, what is the difference of them and how can one integrate them into a routine to start building more confidence and just start releasing stored energy and trauma from the body? It's almost like a two-part question there.
It is a two-part question, and there's multiple answers to go with this, right? So my brain's like, wow, there's so many
I know, so
awesome
many.
answers here. That's okay. So, first of all, let's not. Many people are intimidated by meditation. So let's take the intimidation out here in just a second. And then the other thing is, if you study meditation in all different um, religious backgrounds or yoga backgrounds, whatever it is, meditation, if you study every technique, it's breath control. That's what it is. They're different techniques focused in different parts of your body for you to be able to control your breath, which once you control your breath, then you actually gain control of your mind and your emotions, and then you have freedom. So, I mean, it's kind of a loaded answer, but any which way, it's breath control. There's a massive difference between breath work and meditation. So, when we're doing breath work, for example, you inhale through your nose and you're exhaling through your mouth, and you're doing this all day long. This is where I would suggest that people right now, we can just give a little test for themselves so that they can help themselves throughout their day. But I would just say when you're driving, put one hand on your chest, or while you're driving, one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest, or if you're laying down in bed, it's even better. Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, or if you're sitting at the table at your desk, just put your hand on yourself and feel yourself, because you are so lucky to be in this body and to be living in this body. It's time to master it. And mastering your respiratory system is critical. So understanding, where's your breath flowing? Number one, inhale through your nose. And is your belly expanding? And if not, that's step one. Get your inhale into your belly. And then feel your chest expand. And just let it go. And let it go. And just practice that simply throughout your day. And I like to say, turn on your favorite song, breathe like that to one song. And if you practice that every single day, your life will change. That's very different than meditation. Even though it's a controlled breath, an inhale and an exhale, what you're doing in meditation, and I'd love to teach a couple of techniques if you're cool with that in meditation. Is that okay,
Of
Crystal?
course. Hmm.
Okay, so one of the most important things is we want to get out of the sympathetic nervous system and into the parasympathetic nervous system. And when you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, you have reduced anxiety, you have increased energy, you have your self-esteem goes up. You have all these benefits that everyone talks about meditation,
Not to mention better digestion,
sleep,
sleep, everything. Hmm.
everything. But if you're stressed in meditation, you're not meditating. So it doesn't mean sit down and do your time. It's get your meditation so that you receive the benefits of meditation. And that's getting into the parasympathetic nervous system. How do you get into the parasympathetic nervous system? You want to inhale to, like, let's just say a simple one is, I call it 5, 6, 7. It's like a dance, right? 5, 6, 7. For 5 minutes, you inhale to the count of 6 and you exhale to the count of 7. So it's a simple way to remember for every day for 5 minutes, inhale to the count of 6, exhale to the count of 7. The reason why it's 5 minutes is because that breath, inhale to the count of 6, exhale to the count of 7, within 5 minutes puts you into the parasympathetic nervous system. So you do need the time to get into the parasympathetic nervous system. And it's a simple, super simple technique. That's meditation. So just close your eyes. You don't have to get all geeked out of where your hands are and where your eyes are, where everything is. Just chill. It's super not stressful. It's super easy. Just close your eyes and count into the 6, out to the 7. Now, some people go, well, how fast is the count? And it's like, look, if it's 1 count less or 2 counts, if it's 1 or 2 counts more on the exhale, that's the point. But for people who are listening, my count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's that type of a count, and I'll go to a 7 or an 8. And I promise you, if you do that for 5 minutes, you will feel definitely more peaceful.
I've noticed that you're not holding on either the
No,
up or the down. Is there a particular reason for that?
you can hold, except that what you're doing, you're inducing the dorsal vagal nerve, which is a whole different topic. And for someone who just needs some peace, there's definitely reasons. So you hold. But what I would say is, if you're looking just for a quick fix of like more peace, you want to feel the benefits of meditation, and you slowly want to transform your life, inducing the dorsal vagal nerve does take skill and it takes practice. And if you induce the dorsal vagal nerve and you're not in the parasympathetic nervous system, you're going to go into the sympathetic nervous system. So you want to make sure that you have got heart rate variability, and you get into heart rate variability by exhaling longer than your inhale.
Can we dive a little bit more into the nervous system? Because I think for some of our listeners who aren't familiar with the breakdown, can you please share parasympathetic versus sympathetic? And then if we want to get into the polyvagal theory, I'm always down to talk about that. Because I want to share, like, recently I've been really into doing a lot of somatic healing techniques and really tapping into my body. And really, I know I want to dive into using breath to help release and move stored energy and trauma. And so I've been really passionate about learning about the nervous system, about polyvagal theory, and activating the vagus nerve. So for those who this is brand new to them, please fill us in a little bit more with the nervous system, specifically why you would want to be in parasympathetic versus sympathetic.
Okay, well, I'm gonna back it up just a little bit more, because there's a lot to this, right? What happens is we all go through life and we learn through our senses, right? So we go on through life and we learn through our senses. The senses come in through, the senses only can sense, and it gets sent to the limbic brain. The limbic brain takes the information and goes, boop, 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 puts it where it needs to go, organizes it, and sends it down the central nervous system. The central nervous system is the spine all the way, right? It's your spine. And it lands, the limbic brain goes, sends it all into the heart, right? Sensory, limbic brain, central nervous system goes into the heart. And the heart says, have I felt this before? And then it goes up to the limbic brain. It goes up to the amygdala, and the amygdala in the brain says, you have, and it wasn't good.
Mm.
And their fear, fight or flight kicks in, fear kicks in, and it sends it back down to the heart and says, it's not good. And then it casts judgment. And now all of a sudden, all of your walls kick up and it says, I need to create safety here. I need more of this, less of that. Don't talk to me like this. I need to do this. I need to wear this. I need to do this. I only need to drive in this lane. I only can walk into these types of restaurants. Right? It creates all these rules and regulations because you have a hyper or an inflated amygdala because of how it felt. When it goes into the heart doesn't actually have the ability to store all of that memory. And that is what is called the first three chakras. So the heart says, we're going to go ahead and put it into our filing system. And it files into the first three chakras. And so it goes into the first chakra, right, of anger. We got possessiveness, we got food, we got, willpower, all one of the first three. And it filters down there. And so when we go through life and it says, we've experienced, like you're driving down the road and you're like, oh, wow, a white Mustang, or you're like, a fig tree or something like triggers you. You're like, oh, I remember this memory. And the memory is stored in the first three chakras. And it's unresolved business that needs to be dealt with. And that's how you get people flying off the handle for no apparent reason. We've all wigged out or like reacted in a way that we don't understand where it came from. It came from blocked first three chakras that needs to be dealt with. That's what I do, right? I mean, that's why people go to our journey training, is to be able to help unblock and reside those first three chakras. So you help heal that through breath and through meditation. Like if people don't know Om Japa, they can look up Om Japa. That's a great one to burn into the third chakra. You can, there's all sorts of modalities that help heal the first three chakras. And then what will happen is you're going through life, in through the senses, limbic brain, down the central nervous system, into the heart, and it goes white Mustang. It goes, you know what? I'm okay. What was the meaning of that story? And now you have meaning. And that's the hippocampus that sits on top of the amygdala. And now you have meaning in life. And we've all felt that, where like trauma is happening and it's too much for us to deal with and we're just surviving. And then one day we're like, well, actually, what's the meaning of that? So for me, to be able to help induce that part of the brain, that's really important. It's really important to say, when things are challenging, to help induce that part of the brain and to help unlock those first three chakras that have the trauma. Start asking yourself, well, what's the meaning of this? Is there something to learn? That'll help induce that part of the brain. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. So in my therapy, that is like a big thing that I have been implementing the past couple of weeks, is just, instead of shaming myself, instead of beating myself up for having these reactions, it's coming from a place of curiosity and
That's right.
self-compassion. And that's really what I'm noticing you saying, is just, it's being inquisitive into what's really going on. Now, with that, I had read that when we experience a trauma, particularly from our childhood and younger years, and it is stored in the body, that when we get activated in that same kind of sense, right? We see the white Mustang, that we actually loop back to the same age that trauma occurred
Exactly.
to us. Can you dive into that a little bit? Because I just find that so fascinating.
Absolutely. I mean, we've all seen 40-year-olds have 5-year-old temper tantrums, and
Absolutely.
we've been that person. And what's terrible is when you are that person and you know you're that person, you can't get out.
Mm-hmm.
And why can't you get out? That's the better reason why, right? And it's because you identify as those emotions. You're too close. So what's the way out, right? So look, at this point, we all have to know we're not our thoughts. You're not your thoughts. And the reason why I know you're not your thoughts, and the reason why you can prove to yourself that you're not your thoughts, is just for a minute, just say hi to yourself. Hear yourself say hi. Now what I want you to do is say hi to yourself a little bit louder. And now what I want you to do is say hi to yourself really, 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 really obnoxiously loud. you can hear yourself, which means you're not your thoughts. You're the watcher of your thoughts. And so when we regress back into our childhood reactions and patterns and habits, it's because we are identifying that that is us. And when you go through our training, as you have done, Crystal, and you can maybe speak to it, when all of a sudden, when you clear those patterns, and then when you come home and you can go, wow, there's that pattern. It's not me. So someone like yourself who's done so much work, and many of your listeners have done so much work, they can see the pattern and they can go, this pattern's not me. Therefore, I just need to take a break and take a separation from it so that I don't feed it. Because if you feed it, you will become it.
Right. So you're saying that the quickest way out of when you find yourself having that tantrum and that reaction is just it's a pattern interrupt. It's to just break out of the cycle. And through I believe through just sensation, right? Getting back in the body. So feeling something, smelling something, touching something, being around
Yes.
something cold is like a way that someone can like get out of the pattern, breathe, re-regulate their nervous system, right? And then like come back and approach the situation with curiosity.
100, well said. Couldn't have said it better. 100%. I'll tell you a funny story. Colin and I, my husband, so we go to this spot down in Hualtuco, right? Down in Mexico to go surf. And we've been a couple of times and we had a lot on our plates. We landed, it was a little bit stressful, just what was going on in life. And we land, it's beautiful. And we're both a little bit too close to our pattern. So a little, right? Just at each other a little. And we're walking through town and we're holding hands and we look at each other. And I go, on this particular trip, we are 100% going to break every one of these patterns. And what we're going to do is I'm going to smile at you until you smile. And we're going to keep points. And at the end of the day, whoever has the most points gets to choose where we're eating tonight. Right. And
it's so
it
fun.
was so fun. It wasn't like picking at someone. It wasn't like stop your pattern. It's annoying. It was just one of those things where I just started smiling, and within like nanoseconds, he was smiling and we were laughing. And I believe it's so important to surround yourself, with friends like yourself, Crystal. You are one of these people in my life, and Colin, beautiful people. Surround yourself with amazing people where you're like, hey, just so you know, I want to learn how to smile more. Because right now, everybody who is listening, smile because it feels great. It's one of the reasons why I believe you are a huge magnet in this world is because you have a beautiful smile, you radiate joy, and that smile is what people want more of. And I know, Crystal, in your real life, you are a smiler. There's nothing fake about anything that she does on here. Crystal, you get in Crystal full speed. And that is why you have the life that you live, is because you're smiling. And that right there is a natural pattern break. And you might have been able to unconsciously have that pattern break when you were little, because you did have a challenging childhood. But you have this radiant, beautiful smile. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to inject a smile so that I inject curiosity automatically.
Yes. And one thing that I have, growing up, I think something to be really conscious of is it isn't just put on a fake smile and pretend everything's okay. It's stepping into, you're using it as a pattern interrupt, not a way to shove it down. Because I think growing up,
Oh,
I know
no.
definitely like with my mom and her mom and like just, the generational trauma that has gone down, especially from a very religious family, is that, everything's okay, just smile, and like you're barking and you turn around and walk into church and everything's perfect. It's not that. And I think
No.
for me, I feel like smiling was younger was a coping way that I really saw um, to present a sense of safety, if you will. But now, as I'm really diving into the trauma work, I see how you're using it as a way to break a pattern. And I want to talk a little bit more about this because I recently had instance with Miles where we were out on a walk and I was talking about, I don't know, it was just something. I think the central nervous system, and he wasn't like super like into the conversation, and he kind of started poking fun of neurolinguistic programming. He's like, "Why is it called that? I don't like understand it," and just starts kind of making fun of it. But I was really serious, like I was very passionate talking about this, and I found myself get super triggered and shut down. And I immediately just started like walking ahead. And I found myself just needing space, right? And as I was walking, I came back to breath. And this is when I thought of you and why I wanted to have you on the podcast. Put my hand on my heart, I put a hand on my forehead, a hand on my chest,
Mm-hmm.
and I just did touch and breath and like came
Mm-hmm.
back into my body. And I probably did it for about a minute. And I almost became a watcher and just saw myself like, is this who I want to be? Is
Mm-hmm.
this how I want to react and not be able to experience this beautiful moment with my family on this walk? And it that was the pattern interrupt. And I went up to Miles and I just said, I just need a hug, because I know that according to somatic healing, right, it's just touch, it's sensation and coming in for a hug. And I think doing that with your partner is an amazing tip that I want to share with everyone listening, that just like going in a fight,
100%.
breathing, coming back and just giving a hug. Because from that moment, we were then able to create the most beautiful, incredible evening that we've had in months. And it could have all gone to shit, because I got a little triggered and had a little thorn in my shoulder. Um, and yeah, it was a really huge win for myself personally, and that I wanted to share.
I just want to, first of all, that is witness consciousness. So don't, it wasn't almost, so give yourself the credit. If you weren't witnessing, you couldn't have done it. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
where we want to urge people on, listening to be able to, one, give themselves the credit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can watch yourself and you can take, a moment of just, oh, let's do this. Like for me, I just don't want, for me, I smile and it's like, I immediately go into witness
Mm-hmm.
consciousness when I just
Mm-hmm.
smile and I can feel it and it separates. I'm like, oh, wow, there it is. Let's go deal with this issue head
You
on.
know, I think that's it, Carrie, is you come back to the embodiment of joy and it expresses through your smile. Right? I mean, that's really it, is like, how do I want to feel? Like, what is the feeling that I want to be experiencing? And then like that smile represents that.
Yeah, and that then you go back and you have to go back to the situation. You turn to Miles and you go, you know what?
Yeah.
I need a hug. And now I can have this,
Hmm.
more of a mature adult conversation versus a young temper tantrum
Yeah.
or old behavior that I'm going to, play. And and what's epic about this situation that you brought up is, one, you brought it back to smell it, touch it, breathe it, change it.
Hmm.
And then you went and addressed it right away.
Right
And
away.
because you addressed it right away, we know that that pattern is going to have a harder time repeating.
Yeah. And I just want to say that that was so special and liberating, because I wasn't always able to flip it that quick. And it would take me like a day, couple days, when I was initially starting this work back when, before I went to Journey, and being able to just be hyper conscious and coming from that place of just non-judgment when I get triggered, I think it's very liberating to just have that compassion to myself. And that has really been a huge turning point on my healing journey,
Mm-hmm.
is just being more loving to myself and speaking kinder words and coming back into creating the safety with the body.
I agree. And I think just, I know we're coming into a close. I really believe that what we're saying is really important, which is healing happens within. And many people are reaching out a hand to go help. And I believe in reaching out a hand to help. But as you're on an airplane, you put the
Mhm.
oxygen on yourself. And when you go help yourself and you go get strong, you go get healthy, you learn how to meditate and get a strong mind, and you be able to get witness consciousness of the mind. You realize you're not your emotions, that they're just stored patterns that are running
Mhm.
over and over and over. When you
Mhm.
understand that, you now are a massive gift to this world. You're a light worker in this world who can go help other people. And throughout this podcast and this interview that we're talking about, that's really what I would love people to walk away with is go empower yourself, go invest in yourself, understand that nobody's perfect and it's okay to not be perfect, and no one's looking for perfect. What we're looking for is real. We want to really understand that we all have issues. They're stored in the first three chakras. It's your responsibility as a human being to go heal yourself so that you can heal others. And that's
Wow,
true.
that is so true. Chucky even had to jump in and say something about that. My dog in the background.
Love
So
that.
what are 3 tips that our listeners can walk away with in building a breathwork routine?
Sure. So I would say the first tip is I'd like to call it, just do 100 breaths and do it to a song. So inhale and exhale, not during driving. So when you're in bed, if you're sitting down in like a chair, pick up your favorite song and just inhale and exhale. If you don't want to do that because that's too difficult, that's okay. Do 10, right? So it's just, now you're only doing 10 breaths to about 3 minutes. What that does is it shakes the brain up to say, induce curiosity. You have the strength to persevere and to change your pattern. That's what that type of a breath does. It's a very aggressive breath.
Just a single in, a single out.
Yeah, it's quick in, quick out, quick in, quick out. You're shaking the brain and you're shaking the pattern like an earthquake to say, I want to stop this pattern immediately. Now, if you're a person who struggles with anxiety, I'm going to say you're going to have to inhale and exhale a little bit longer. But someone who doesn't struggle with anxiety, majority of people actually don't. I would say 1 in, 1 out. Okay. And I would say 10 breaths. That absolutely is a game changer in the midst of the heat of the fire.
So
Okay.
when someone finds himself being activated and triggered, it's just the 10 breaths, the 10 single breaths.
Yep. And you're trying not to pause at the bottom and the top. Just do 10. And if it works and you feel a little edge off, great, do 10 more. You feel a little bit more edge off, great, do 10 more. Pause and be like, did it change a little bit? You're looking for minor new changes, right? So as soon as you have that little change, do another 10. And then and exhale and just take some space. Like Crystal did on the beach. She felt herself, she took space. Be like, I'm not this pattern. I don't want to run this pattern. So I would say number 1, that's that. And then in meditation or during, I do it when I'm working and I'm fully in conscious state. I need to slow down. I want to speed up, so I have to slow down and work, right? Because I'm just becoming not productive. I would say the inhale 6, exhale 7 for 5 minutes. If you feel as though you're struggling with anxiety, you feel like your blood pressure is rising, you feel as though you're getting too close to your patterns and you're not quite in them yet, then it's a 5, 6, 7. And it's for 5 minutes, inhale 6, exhale to the count of 7. I would do that for 15 minutes. If you've never meditated and you want to try sitting for a long time, do that technique. It'll blow your mind.
Wow.
That is a powerhouse of a technique. Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
Yeah. 5, 6, it's an easy one to remember. 5, 6, 7, and 8, you'll be great.
Yeah. That's great. Awesome. Carrie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and just, bringing your light into, the world and with all of our listeners. And I'm sure everyone is just begging to know like where they can get more of you, how they can work with you. So can you tell us, and we'll be sure to link everything, but let our listeners know where they can get in contact with you.
Sure. My website, which is theawakeningtrainings.com, and we have multiple retreats and trainings that you can go to. Crystal has been to the Journey training and our level 2, but the Journey is really awesome. And you're welcome to personally email me, and my email is carrie@theawakeningtrainings.com if you're interested in learning more about our trainings. We're always here for you, and yeah, we're here to answer any questions and to help you heal yourself because we really believe that the power of healing lies within and it's your responsibility to unlock that wisdom.
Amen. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carrie. I can't wait to have you back on for another episode soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. I love sharing
Bye.
your light. Go spread it out and get this world a much beautiful, brighter place. You do an amazing job. Thank you for spreading the joy.
Oh, thank you. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.